Yo, what is up, Scale Hackers? I'm back again with another one of these valuable live streams. In this one, we are going to talk about getting the response rate of your outreach higher, right? And that is such a very interesting thing to talk about because a lot of people I know are doing outreach, right? So, as we usually do, let's dive straight in. No fluff, let's get into the value. All right, so outreach response rates. That's what I'm going to write up here so that anyone joining us now knows what we're talking about. Response rates. All right, so the first thing I want to do is why do people get crappy response rates to their outreach? And how can we troubleshoot those issues? I think that's a good place to start. So that is where we're going to start. What are people doing wrong? Why are they not getting the outreach responded to? And how can we fix that? All right. So there's 6 things I've written down here on my notes. So let's go over these 6 things. I'm going to do this here. So we'll go number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. So the first reason why people don't get a high outreach response rate is they're trying to sell too early. Which basically means you're pitching. My bad. Selling early. I'm just going to put selling early. Right? And basically what you're doing is you're trying to pitch your product before you've even made your prospect aware they have a problem that needs a solution, right? Because think of it like this, right? Your market is like this big friggin' thing here, right? And this is about like 5% of your market. This is about like 15%. And then you've got like, this is the rest, right? So this is like 80%. And basically, with your market, you have 5% of people who are problem aware and ready to buy, right? They're ready for a solution. So they're ready for a solution. Then you've got 15% of people who are not as problem aware, but they still are seeking a solution, right? So they're not as aware, but still warm, right? I'm going to call it a warm audience, right? And then you've got the 80%, which is just totally cold, not aware. And basically, what a lot of you are doing with your outreach is you're trying to reach this 5%, which is why your rates of response are so low, right? Because you're trying to sell too early, which only reaches these 2 audiences here, which is only like 20% of your market, right? And again, these are made up numbers. I'm making up numbers here, but you know what I mean. You get the point. Not everyone in your audience is going to be ready to buy. You need to make them problem aware in this phase here. Basically, that's why your outreach response rates are so low, because you're selling too early, which means you're hitting this audience, which is such a small amount of people in your niche, in your industry that you're reaching, right? So reason number 2 why your outreach is not getting a higher response rate is no strong promise. Right? Now, what I mean by that is you don't have a strong promise of a big desire in the industry. And this always comes back to your research, right? No one is going to want to respond to you if you don't have a big promise that stands out in the market, right? So a big promise that stands out for a big desire in the industry, which you'll have to find by doing your research, all right? Number 3, the reason why your outreach response rates are so low is you have no curiosity. And this is a big one, right? No curiosity, right? Where's your curiosity? Now, you might be hitting, here's the thing, as we go through these, you might be hitting, a couple of these things, but you need to hit all of these things to get really high response rates, right? Because again, back to this example here, if you want to hit this 80% market, you've got to be able to make people problem aware by doing these things. All right. So curiosity, right? What do I mean by that? Curiosity is basically getting someone interested in what you have, right? Creating curiosity around your problem, their problem, and the solution, and all of these things, right? Because again, we're trying to make people problem aware. So basically, we want to create curiosity, being like, hey, this is some interesting stuff here to look at, basically, right? 4 is you've got no scarcity, or some people might call it time frames, right? And this is a big one because without scarcity and time frames, people aren't going to respond straight away, right? They're going to be like, oh, I can leave this till next week. I can leave this. It's not important. It's not a rushing thing, right? So you really need to amplify why they should reply to you in such a fast time frame, right? Why is that important for them to do that? And that's really something you need to have in your outreach, all right? The next thing is language, right? So what language are you using to your market? And does it resonate, right? Is it language that your market is using? Because if it's not, you are not going to be relatable to them, and they're not going to know what the hell you're talking about. You're going to sound like a foreigner, right? So language is really important, and understanding your market's language and the lingo that they use, right? Really important stuff to understand so that you can really create more relatability when you're sending this outreach and people really understand more about what you're saying, right? So language. And then the 6th one, probably one of the most important ones. I mean, actually, all 6 of these are very important. I lied. I'm not going to say that. So the 6th one is no trust, no authority, and also no relatability. And basically, I'm putting these all in one. These could easily be their separate own ones, but I'm putting them all in one just because it's easier. You know what? Let's make this number 7. There you go. We got 7 things now. Bam. Awesome. So basically what that means is like you're not creating enough trust and authority with people. And this comes back to the reason why, and I will always say this, I hate outreach. Unless you have authority and trust in the space, outreach is definitely difficult, right? Because how are you supposed to hit this 80% market when you can only send outreach, right? One message, you get one chance, you get one opportunity to be in someone's face before they make an opinion about you, right? And that's whether that's a cold email, whether it's a cold DM, whether that's a cold message, whether that's a LinkedIn message, whether that's an Instagram DM, whether that's a TikTok message, whether that's whatever you're doing, right? You get one opportunity to reach this person, and when they're in this 80% bubble and you're not doing the right things, you can't build this trust and authority and this relatability, right? These two things here, you can't build those things because you have one opportunity, and you can't do that in one opportunity, right? It's very hard to do that when you don't already have that stuff in the space. So this is why I'm a big freaking fanatic on client attraction systems, mainly through building an audience, right? Because building an audience is one of the most important things you can do to really not have to worry about these things, right? Because when you build an audience, you can easily hit all of these markets through how you put yourself out there, right? And when you're building an audience, you can speak, you get multiple opportunities to speak to these different markets, right? So you can make, you can engage with this audience here to really get them to buy from you, and then you can educate this audience here on their problem so that they start to turn into these people here who are ready to buy, right? And it creates like a big flow, right? It's a big circle of flow. So I think it's really important. No, sorry, wrong words. I prefer, and I think, in my opinion, that client attraction and building an audience is so much more effective and so much better for your agency than doing outreach, right? Not to say outreach doesn't work, 100% works, but like I said, you're hitting way less people and you've got to worry about all these things, right? And like I said, with outreach, you kind of get one opportunity. That's all you really get, right? Whether that's a cold call, whether that's a DM, whether that's a message, right? You get one opportunity before someone forms an opinion about you, right? And if you're saying the wrong stuff and testing messages, that's the worst thing you can do. Testing messages through outreach, worst thing you can do, right? Because each time you put a failed message out there, people form an opinion about you, about being a spammy marketer, right? And basically what happens then is you've burnt that lead, right? And it's very, very hard to recover that, right? So when you do outreach, you're burning through leads a lot faster, which means that you have lot more of these problems come up, right? And these are just 7 things. There's a ton more stuff that goes on, right? It wouldn't fit on this whiteboard here. But there's a lot that goes on with your outreach that you really need to fix if you are sticking with it. But again, like I said, I'm a very big, very firm believer on warm inbound leads coming from having client attraction systems set up, right? That's really where you can excel a lot more faster. And like I said, hit all of these audiences here. So that's going to be pretty much it for this video. I hope this was useful and this may increase your response rates for your outreach. Very basic things that you can fix. But again, like I said, client attraction is just where it's at, guys. That's where it's at. So if you want to hear more information about like client attraction and how to make that work, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Feel free to reach out to me and I'll give you some cool resources to like look into client attraction systems, because again, I think it's really important. Every agency has them. So feel free to reach out to me. I've got some cool free resources that I can send your way. If not, all good. Continue with your outreach. These things should help you to improve your response rates. One other thing that I will add to this is the process of your outreach, right? And what you should really be aiming to do. So let me just quickly rub this out. So with your outreach, this is the kind of process that you want to be following, right? Someone drew these in boxes. So we got educate, right? The first thing you want to do is educate your audience, right? And again, if you want to hit that 80% that we're talking about, you've got to educate them on their problem. You've got to make them problem aware. So educate, first phase. Then the next thing we have here is connect. So now you want to make a connection with them, create that relatability and that authority by creating the connection, right? Connect. And then we do the third thing, which is to guide them, right? Become the guide. And basically what that means is like getting them to take the next step in your process, right? Now, what these could look like, this could be three pieces of outreach, 3 pieces in your sequence, or this could be 1 piece in your sequence. You have to work that out. And what's going to work better for your niche? Is your niche a more sophisticated market? Is it a more simple market? Do they need more outreach? Do they need less outreach? Do they need things said to them how it is? Do they need things more complicated and broken down? You need to work that out about your market, right? So this, again, how many pieces of content or how many pieces of outreach you put into this will depend on how sophisticated your market is, right? But that is the process that I would follow for outreach. Educate people on why they have a problem, what that problem is, connect with them on a relatability and authoritative level, right? And create that trust, break through the trust barrier, and then guide them to the next step, whether that's booking a call or, checking out your Facebook group or checking out your profile or sending you a message or whatever it is, right? Then you send them to the next step, and that is pretty much it. So yeah, like I said, I definitely prefer client attraction, but this can 100% work if you do it the right way. These are the 2 things that really, really will stop you mainly, right? All these things are like come secondary to these things here. I'm actually going to circle them. These things here, most important things you can focus on. Most important things you can focus on. Because if you have these 2 things, you can get a prospect to do anything, right? And I mean anything. So, that is pretty much it for this video. I hope this will increase your response rates on your outreach. Like I said, feel free to message me if you need any help with anything else. And yeah, love to see it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, like I said, this is free value content. I'm not charging you a cent to be in this group. If you enjoyed, please drop a comment of your main takeaways. I love to hear that you guys are actually enjoying this content. That's what keeps me doing this. So please say thank you, drop a comment, let me know what your takeaways were. And also let me know in the comments if you have any questions you want me to answer in these whiteboard videos, right? And I'll do my best to answer that question. So yeah, feel free to do that, guys. Drop a comment, and I will see you all later. Have a lovely friggin' day, mate. Peace.